Okay, perfect. Okay, guys, can everyone see? Everyone good?
Yep.
Perfect. Okay, great. So today, session number 4 of our online development program for you guys as the coaches is explaining or looking at designing sessions to create learning. Now, with you guys, obviously there's a resource for you for your session plans on the online coach development link on our website. If you did not know about that, it is on there. It's on the top banner. It says Coach Development Program. And all the resources are there for curriculum, calendar, session plans for you guys to follow. But today, what I wanted to do was go over the why behind designing sessions to be able to create learning. So 1v1 non-directional game. So communication, just so there's a quick catch up for everyone that maybe hasn't been on here or needed a quick reminder, is the interaction between the two teams. So the communication currently between the two teams is 1v1. But what do I mean by non-directional? What does this mean?
That there's no goal, that they're not trying to score in an actual goal.
Yeah, perfect. So there's no goal and there's no direction that they're going. So Caroline, if you want to further touch on that, what is the decision then in this game? What are the decisions in this game if there's no goal?
I guess how to keep control of the ball.
Yeah, have to keep control of the ball. So the decisions may be keep control of the ball, but you know that is how they're executed. What would the decisions be then? The defender is there with them. Where are they going to go?
Into a space without a defender.
Into a space without a defender or away from the defender. So that would be the decision. Now the reason, as Caroline points out, that would be the decision is for communication to happen or interaction between the teams or the players. There has to be opposition, which is why this game is very good. If your players aren't necessarily, very good with the ball, it gives them lots of chances to be able to make decisions and keep the ball away from the other player to be able, to manipulate the ball. So this game is great for low-level players that aren't particularly good at controlling the ball. But the reason that we've put non-directional there is that it's not going to be able, to develop players to go towards a goal because naturally there isn't one. Okay, 1v1 directional to an end zone. So why have we gone into an end zone, not a goal straight away? Anyone want to have a go at that? Why have we gone to an end zone and not a goal?
Moving into space.
Yeah, and why is it slightly easier to go into the space opposed to going to the goal? And who is that answered? Sorry,
That was Justin.
Justin, sorry. So Justin, to build off your comment there, why space and not goal straight away?
I mean, it's bigger. There's just more places to go.
Yeah, perfect. Absolutely spot on. So in terms of going to the space, it's bigger, and that creates what then, Justin? More opportunity for the players to...
I mean, they can do a lot of different things when they're in space.
Yeah, and it's going to give them more success, right, within 1v1. So to your point, more space, more success. It's a step up from non-directional. Maybe not quite as hard as going to the goal, and it promotes them being able to, go into an open space. And Henrik, thanks for joining us. Jason, thanks for joining us as well. So we've just got started, and thanks for jumping on. So just to summarize there off what Justin was saying, this 1v1 game, more space, more advanced than non-directional, as Caroline was talking about as well, which then means there's going to be more levels and layers of success for the players because there is more space to go towards. So now, Justin, I don't know if you would feel comfortable elaborating on why space is more, that there was more opportunity for success. But what might happen here with these two gates on the field? What is the behavior going to promote now for the players?
I guess going to a specific area into space as opposed to just kind of like kicking it and running onto it.
Yep, exactly. So within this one in here, there is a specific space to go to, but Justin, I don't want you to feel like I'm picking on you with this, but you're answering it very well. It's going the conversation very well. But what might be the problem now with this? So we've gone from lots of space with an end zone to now two large gates in wide areas. So it's a good 1v1 activity, but why is it maybe not as representative to the game as it could be?
You're never only going to have one defender.
True.
So you've got an either-or option where you may actually not have that in real life.
Yep, true. That is very true. Is that obviously the end goal will be to get to the actual game. So that's a great point. But in terms of this activity specifically within 1v1, why are two gates in wide areas? Again, it's not a bad activity, but why is it not promoting behavior that we might see in a game?
I think it's tougher for the defender because normally you try to push them, out to the sides and away from the goal, but okay. Now you're just pushing them towards the other goal.
Caroline, couldn't have said it any better. So this here, it's very easy for the attacker now to make a decision is to go to the open space or the space furthest away from the defender. Now, in a game, a defender would want to push the opponent to the wide space because the goal is where?
The middle.
In the middle. So this activity, again, not a bad activity. They're still communicating. They're interacting with each other. They're still decision-making. They still execute decisions. But it's not a realistic game within 1v1 because they are pushing them constantly to the wide areas, which in the game is where we want them. Now, the attacker, in a normal game, what would the direction that they would try to go or primarily try to go?
Center of the field.
Center of the field. Yeah, center of the field. So this activity, again, I know I am repeating myself, but it's good for us to recognize that what the activity does bring out. Gates in wide areas, good for the player manipulating the ball, but the actual decision-making of going to the goal in the middle, it maybe is not the greatest. So this activity here now goes to two mini goals, slightly offset from center. Who wants to have a go at why it's progressed to this?
Because it's helping shooting. The other ones were dribbling to the gates. This would be shooting on goal.
Yeah, exactly. So we've added another level or a layer into it. Was that Brian? Sorry.
Yeah, that was Brian.
Brian. So to Brian's point, we've added scoring, shooting now because there are goals. That's the end goal of football, soccer is to score one more goal. So now there is a goal. But Brian, what if you want to elaborate? What potentially, again, is the issue within this activity within 1v1?
The goals are on the side, and the goal is going to be in the center. So to everybody's point, defense is going to push to the side of the goal, and it's going to encourage the offense to shoot on the easier side that the defense is naturally going to push.
Exactly. So again, with the activity, there's interactions, there's communication, decisions being made. We've added another level of execution because now there is scoring and shooting. However, the issue is that the goals are not in the central space, which is the objective of the game to go there. Last one. So finally, we have got to, let's say, what the perfect scenario is. So 1v1, directional, goals in the center. This would be as representative as it could be for players to be able to make the best decisions. They're interacting 1v1, and there's execution of decision. Now, Justin, I'm going to come back to you. You mentioned earlier about 1v1 not being, something that's going to happen necessarily that often in a game. So now we've made it 1v2. Why do you think we've done that?
It forces the attacker to make quicker decisions.
Amazing.
And
Killing it. Absolutely
better control
killing
the
it,
ball.
Yeah. Okay. So now to Justin's point, we have to make quicker decisions because now we've changed activity where instead of it being 1v1, it's 1v2. Now the speed has increased because what has decreased?
Space.
I agree with you, Justin.
I think we might have lost Benjamin.
Yeah, he's just frozen right there. But I agree with you. Again, I agree with you, Justin. Right.
But I think the problem with this drill is that they're just gonna shoot from the very end. They're not gonna take on a defender or challenge the goal.
Sorry, guys. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, we got you.
We answered your question, Benji, and then Caroline was making a good point.
Yeah, I think
No.
their answer was that there's less space. You know, the trouble I see with this drill is that the attacker is just gonna, take a step and then shoot right away before the defenders can get to him. And I think Benji's frozen again.
I think so too, but yeah, good point.
That's the issue I have a lot is that it's easier to defend in these situations because all they have to do is get there first and kick it away. So when you have a 2v1 overload, it's like even harder. And like, I'm not sure, when I do this, I like to have overloads on the offensive side to make it easier to attack.
Sure.
Guys, sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. I'm really sorry for the reason that the Wi-Fi here cut out, so I apologize. Justin, could you elaborate on what you were just saying, please? I'm very sorry because I wanted to obviously hear what you were speaking about there within overloading the players. Do you want to jump back into that?
So I guess the theme of this is like what the issue with this is, and what I always have when I'm trying to construct my drills is that it's easier to defend in these small spaces, and so like because all they have to do is kick it away, really.
Yeah.
And so like a 2v1 overload on the defensive side, I'm not sure like how constructed it is because Carolyn made the point that like the easiest thing to do is just take a shot on goal immediately.
I can hear you. Yeah, good. Sorry.
But I think that's where I was going.
Yeah, but I mean, with this in here, you talked about increasing, obviously increasing the decision making, that is being made by the speed of it, because now we've had another defender. So to your point, defensively, you've underloaded the defenders. So you've not overloaded their thinking or their brains, you've underloaded them because you've made it easier for them. The attacking player, you have overloaded them now because now they have to recognize to not create 1v2, but to create what?
1v1.
1v1. Yeah, exactly. So this has progressed to increase the speed of decision making, and then instead of making it 1v2, make it 1v1 because there is any more chance to be able to score. The last one here, 1v3. What is this going to then have to make the player with the ball do?
Improve their ball control.
Improve their ball control. So not only do they have to improve their speed of decision making, but their execution of decision as well. So now, what may be a level of execution of decision, Caroline? I'll put you on the spot. They have to do what now to the player that is down here?
Well, can they go to either goal?
No, just the what? So this is directional?
Just the directional one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess they've got to stay ahead of the player who's coming at them from the back.
Yeah.
And then beat the first defender to get to the second.
Yeah, exactly. So the execution of the decision, the coaching could be cut across the path of the player that is executing this decision. So in here, go on, Justin. What are you going to say, mate?
I just have a question. So in this case, is the attacker starting with the ball at their feet, or is someone playing the ball to them?
Yeah,
What's the construction here?
yeah, the attacking player would start with the ball. Yeah. So they would start here with the ball. You could add another. The other layer could be this player passes the ball to them. So either way would work. But the reason of starting here is they have to execute decisions by cutting across this player and getting into the middle space to score as quickly as possible. Justin? Did that answer it? Sorry.
Yep. Thank you.
Perfect. Great. Okay. So now this is a question for everyone that's on the call. So I answer it by unmuting yourself or putting in the group chat. Whose groups do you think are capable? So is your team capable of 6v1 rondo, non-directional keep away? What do you guys reckon?
Your screen's doing some funny things now.
It is, yeah, because I went back to this. I wanted to see if you guys were going to answer on the chat. So either unmute yourselves or go to the chat. So 6v1, non-directional. Do you guys reckon that your teams could do this?
I mean, I have U13s, so I think we could get away with this most of the time.
I think my guys could.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's Jason here. I was going to say I've got 4th grade 9-year-old boys. We can tell them to do it. It wouldn't be pretty though, but yeah.
Perfect. Okay, great. So now this is now where I'm going with this. So a lot of the times we'll say, my team, we can't pass or we can't dribble. Now, the difference is being either successful at it or not very successful at it. So to your point, Jason, there, 6v1, right? You think that your team could get away with it. Now, let's say they struggle with it, but they could do it. And this is hypothetical, guys, just to be clear. Hypothetically, Jason, to make it even easier for 6v1 or easier than 6v1, what could you do?
Lessen the number of make it 4v1 or something.
Would that make it easier or more difficult?
Oh yeah, no, fair enough. I don't know.
But well, so instead of making it, instead of making it, let's say, harder 4v1, because now there's less players to pass to, 7v1 could be more difficult, right? So, but we don't. Let's say 7v1. We don't want to make it 7v1. So, what else could we do to make it easier for the players with the ball within 6v1?
Make the space bigger.
Yeah, make the space bigger. Okay. Now, let's say they master that, so that we made it bigger within 6v1. It's becoming more easy, or it becomes easier. What's something else that we could do now? Challenge it easier initially to allow them to understand what the activity was. Now we want to progress the activity. What can we do to make it more difficult?
Make the field smaller again.
Make the field smaller, or what else could we do?
Make it 5-on-1.
5-on-1, exactly. So make it 5-on-1. How can we make it more difficult again?
Limit their touches.
Okay, that's a good point. Okay, so now we're starting to think. Now we're starting to think about different ways of doing it. So throughout this presentation of what we've looked at, we've constrained the activity always. Was that Justin? You asked that about the restrictions? Sorry?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So, Justin, I'm going to put you on the spot with this. Why potentially could restricting the player's behavior be problematic?
I mean, because they don't learn to make decisions in the moment.
Okay, so you're on the right track. So we'll use a reference again with this, right? Let's say we told the players within, we'll go to 4v1. Okay, so now it's 4v1. We've told the players within 4v1 they can only take one touch and then they have to pass the ball. So they get 2 touches. What may be the problem of that, of doing that?
I mean, depending on your skill level, you're gonna have a lot of like first touches going out of bounds and people standing around and chasing the ball and that sort of thing.
Yep, exactly. Within relation to the game, why could that be problematic? So let's say you do that on a Tuesday. You say, okay, we're going to do this 2-touch passing activity, and then the game comes on Saturday. What may the problem be on Saturday?
Just going to keep repeating the 2-touch.
Yeah, keep repeating the 2-touch. And what are the variables of the game? Is it restrictions and 2 touches, or is it space-time opponent?
Space-time opponent.
Space-time opponent. So that there is where we have to be careful with restricting the behavior opposed to, let's say, constraining the behavior of the players. So Justin, thank you for bringing that up, because it's really important for us to recognize as coaches the difference between that restricting and then constraining. So I appreciate the contribution and feedback with that. Okay, so next one, guys. So I'm going to play this video here. We'll skip a couple. No, we'll stay on track with this, actually. Okay, so I want you to watch the video, and then afterwards, I want you guys to tell me. I'll get loaded up. I want you guys to be able to tell me what actions are occurring and why. All right, guys. So what did you think? What happened? What occurred, and why did it occur?
Sorry, Ben, did you mean just like what was the activity, or are you talking now specifically about what types of skills were they bringing out and stuff like that?
Yeah. So what? To be specific, was that Jason? I was asking that.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jason. So to be specific, what was occurring? So what was the activity and what was the behavior of the players? So thank you, Justin. That was good feedback for me in terms of delivering my question. What was the activity, and then what was the behavior occurring in that activity from the players?
So I'll just keep going. And look, to me, from what I could tell, is that it was just a one-on-one, 1v1, starting from opposite ends. Yeah, and then as soon as somebody scores, you rotate to the next kid in line.
Yeah, perfect. And because of the activity, with it being 1v1 and the mini goals that were there, what were the players often doing?
Standing around. Waiting. Good old, we call this, what is it called? Steal the bacon. This is what we call steal the bacon. This is the drill that we do.
Okay. So within it, there's a couple players that are standing and waiting in line. Okay. But with it specifically, what were the behaviors of the players? Was it lots of passing, lots of dribbling, lots of shooting, or what happened as the players stepped out?
Quick dribbles and then shooting.
Yeah, quick dribbles and then shooting, because they tried to take the space as quickly as possible to then get to the goal. So that was how the drill or the exercise was designed to bring out, driving forward as quickly as possible to get to the goal. Okay, so the next one that we're going to look at. Tell me what the activity was, then tell me what the behavior of the players was. Okay. Anyone? Any thoughts and feedbacks on what you've seen? what was the activity, and the behavior of the players.
So it looked like they're receiving a ball and then dribbling forward towards the goal and then trying to evade the defender for a shot.
Yeah. But what was the difference in this activity this time? What was the major difference within it?
The offense started with the ball. Like it was one side started with the ball.
Correct. But then what are they?
The keeper. Sorry.
Yeah, goal and the keeper. So what actions are we going to be developing in this activity?
Finishing,
yeah. Shooting, exactly. So I know this is super simple, and it's not too simple. Itself is probably the most important aspect of developing that. So if you want to get your players really good at, let's say, improving their ability to pass, the keep away game is a good game because you improve passing and receiving in one aspect, especially with young kids. Now, this activity here, you improve finishing and shooting because you go to a goal against the goalkeeper. If you do it at a mini goal, it is not representative towards finishing and shooting because your players, unless they are playing 4v4, are going to be going to a mini goal. So that is the why behind it. Okay. So can you start? You guys here? Sorry, I was just concerned with the connection.
Yeah, and Benji, I was just going to offer advice. You might want to turn off your video. Sometimes that improves a little bit if you're having trouble with Wi-Fi. Just to let you know.
Thank you, sir. Okay, so video, what is happening in the activity and the actions within it as well.
And sorry, Benji, I meant the camera. Not the video you're playing. Sorry about that.
All right, guys. So activity, what was happening? What was the activity, and then what were the actions being developed within it?
Yeah. Can you replay it? I think it was very jerky and it was hard to see.
No problem. Play it again there. All right, guys. So what did you see within that activity?
Sorry, I saw like 4 frames.
do you have the link to YouTube? You could maybe drop it in the.
I could, yeah. To be honest, I think it's just to do with the actual signal. But what it was just so we can obviously keep this moving. It was a 4v2 activity or a 5v2 activity. So again, what's going to be promoted in it is going to be passing and receiving with the team with the ball. However, this time there were 2 counter goals. So now, if the defending team won it, added what will happen.
So I guess you're teaching your defenders to do something other than just boot the ball away. once they've won it.
So, yeah, exactly. So that adds another layer. If they've won it, they can keep it and go to the goal. So you've added a layer of transition as well, which is obviously really, really important to be able to develop that also. Okay. In terms of the video not working, here's what we'll stop sharing my screen. Okay, guys. So the last two videos, that it was a 2v2 activity as well, which we talked about earlier, with being directional now instead of non-directional. So that would improve not only the actions of passing and receiving, but finishing as well. So the end of these sessions, I always like to leave open for Q&A at the end. So in terms of, let's say, help that you may need or questions that you have in terms of your sessions, feel free to fire away, and let's see if we can get any of those questions answered if you guys did have them.
Sure, Jason here. I'll just jump in with one. Just going back to that one example of, say, like it's not really 6v1, but the keep away game basically. And I guess the thing that I wonder about is, sometimes it's just so sloppy with them. Like, we can have even just setting them up in four corners and not even having to move around and things like that, and just have one kid chase or something. But, sometimes it's just so sloppy, and I'm just wondering whether it's, is it still worthwhile to let them just continue on with that, where it's, a kid gets a pass, doesn't trap it well, it just bounces off, and, they're constantly switching the person in the middle and stuff like that. It's obviously not what it would look like, if they had better skills. And I'm just wondering, with stuff like that, do you just let that go and then they develop their skills over time and that gets cleaner?
Well, I mean, I think if you look at what we've talked about today, right, which is the 6v1 example, if they can do 6v1, hypothetically, if they can do 6v1, then you would make it more difficult by making it 5v1, 4v1, or decreasing the space, and then that way you progressively improve their decision making and their execution. The other side of it as well is that I don't think it would be realistic to straight away think that this would happen immediately. So if you, and Jason, to be specific to your example, what are the age of the kids that you're working with?
Oh, 9 years old, and we've got the range. There's a handful that are, they could do it really cleanly, beautifully, and then other kids that just haven't developed the skills yet.
So what I said this last week, actually, to someone's example, is that success would probably be after a season or a full calendar year. Can you recognize within 4v1 that they have got better at passing and receiving? I think that's a really good bar for judgment of, okay, we couldn't pass and receive consistently. Now we can pass and receive consistently. And then you can look at, as the years go by or as the seasons go by, is directional needed anymore? Is it we just go 2v2 to goal now or 3v3 to goal? And that way we improve now not only non-directional but directional passing and receiving. I think it'd be very naive of me to say, oh yeah, it's easy. They'll get better like that, real quick. It does take time. A year for a 9-year-old, it seems maybe a long time now, but it's nothing. 10 years time, that kid is 19, and Jason's developed the next player to play at the University of Maryland. You never know, because you were consistent with them.
Okay. I guess sometimes when I just see how sloppy it is, I wonder whether it's more worthwhile to switch them to something simpler, like just how to pass again and stuff like that. But I suppose doing both of those in parallel is probably the way to go, so that they're also thinking bigger, like you do in that 6v1 or something.
Can I jump in on what you just said there, though, Jason?
Sure.
Because this is really important, right? If we just did isolated activities, and this is a question for the group, we just focused on kicking the ball from one player on one cone to one player on the next, I would promise you they would improve at that rapidly. They would improve enormously at kicking the ball from one cone to another. But what is the problem with doing that?
They'd get bored out of their minds.
Nobody's
moving. Sorry, Justin, say again, mate.
Nobody's moving.
Nobody's moving. Yeah.
They don't learn how to play the game.
Ah, okay. So go on, Henry. So they don't learn how to play the game. Why? What is missing?
Well, the game situation.
Yeah, the game situation, exactly. So that's why we use the reference of 6v1. If they can improve 6v1 and keep the ball, well, that is still more, it's the most realistic thing that you could have with passing and receiving for an 8 and a 9-year-old, because they're still trying to keep the ball away, but there is a defender there. If there's no defender, they improve rapidly, but then that's not the game. So this is where we look at football actions, a football interaction. I pass to Brian because Justin is pressing me and I have no space. But then if Henrique is pressing me and Brian is pressing me and I'm playing with Jason and Justin, well, which one is open? So this is where the decision-making piece comes in now. There has to be interaction and communication, to Henrique's point, for it to look like the game. Justin, sorry, sir, you raised your hand.
Yeah, I was just going to say to Jason, like this drill, even if they're not executing it perfectly, is going to help them understand that passing is an option, a thing that they can do. Because at that age, especially, everyone wants to just put their head down and run until they lose the ball. So if you make it easy for them to pass, even if they don't do it well, they will learn to do it.
Yeah, perfect. Spot on, Justin. So if it's happening, the action is happening, as Justin has just said, that is an action, regardless of however easy it may be. But if you have no interaction, no opposition, you're not developing an action. So, and I say this seriously, you go around most fields of the US, across any state, region, the majority of people will do isolated activities where there's no opposition. Now, the reason they do that is because they've not defined the reference of what we have, which is developing passing interactions or dribbling interactions against opposition. So that would be the specific reason behind it. Does that answer the question, Jason?
Yeah, no, that's sorry if you were talking to me. Yeah, absolutely, that's really helpful.
Yeah, and it's so important. Even if, and you said it just then, even if it doesn't look good, no problem. It's fine. It's not, we're not here to make it look perfect. We're here to develop the player's ability to do so. Now, eventually, it will start to look good because you've been consistent with it. But it doesn't have to look good straight away. As long as the opposition is there, the players are making decisions. That is the best possible outcome. So, good segment there to talk about. Anyone else, guys? Questions, queries, concerns?
Nope, I'm good this week. Thanks. This was good. I've got some nice ideas for this week's practice.
Great. Good, Caroline. I'm really glad. Enrique, how can I help you, sir?
Okay, doke. So I'm actually Jose, so I'm kind of like connecting with my work email, which has my second name.
Jose.
Sorry. Jose. Sorry. Like Jose Mourinho, except that
my favorite coach.
Not as famous as he is, though, unfortunately. So the question is, working with younger kids that don't have a lot of experience, my difficulty is actually to find basic enough drills that they can actually learn how to play the game. Mm-hmm. What do you suggest me to do?
So what age group are you working with, Jose?
Well, I'm working with an age group that's like 7, 8, 9. But then again, my 9-year-olds, they, a bunch of kids, they never played before. They're really interested in playing. They're really passionate about it, but they don't have any idea about what the game is. And their skill set is really poor. So what would you do in a situation like this with 9-year-olds?
So I'm just copying and pasting into the group chat the coach development program. Now, if you go onto that, and then you click onto recreation, first, second, and third grade curriculum and session plans, that would be what I would recommend you to follow, because that is 1v1, 2v2, 3v3, and its most basic element, and it is probably most realistic to those kids and players. Now, the previous call that was on, because we go grades 1, 2, and 3 from 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock, we had a coach ask about, well, how on earth do you teach them at 7v7, you know, to create space and to play in such a way which allows them to have space and not all chase after the ball. And what I would say is I would defend you as coaches first, that you have 9-year-olds playing 7v7 for the majority. Because if you think about a 9-year-old at 7v7 or a 10-year-old at 7v7, it's very difficult for the majority of them to comprehend that much interaction. So I would defend the coach first and say the actual structure of 7v7 for those age of kids, my opinion is it's not appropriate. But you at practice, you can really help their development by playing as smaller sided games as possible, because the interaction is less and they can then make better decisions because there is not as many people or players there. So my answer to your question, how it would help you, is within play, practice, play, the structure of the actual session, play small-sided games at the beginning, play small-sided games at the end. And then that way, you improve the decision-making of the players in a smaller format. Is that useful, Jose?
That is very useful, and I really love it. So thanks, Ben.
No, perfect. That's great. Yeah, and it's something that I'm doing with working with our academy age teams. It's 2v2, 3v3 at the very start, very end of practice, and they love it as well. Another one that's really useful is if they have a favorite team. Let's say Jose Mourinho's Roma versus Lazio, it'd be a good one to do. If you like Italian football, that World Cup final, one team against another team, US versus Mexico, make it as fun as possible, ways to engage the kids. That's a really good, fun way for them to make it, as appropriate for them as possible as well. So good question. Thank you very much. Anyone else, guys?
Yeah, do you have any resources for, because at this age group, we're introducing like slide tackling and heading. And like, I understand how to do it, but it's hard for me to describe it for like hesitant 12 and 13-year-olds.
Yeah. So that, you see, I'll ask you guys a question. In terms of our communication to you about these sessions and the resources that we're giving out, how well has that been put out to you?
I'm going to be honest. I saw the email and it said 4th grade plus, and I had time, so I jumped on. So maybe I'm not appropriate here.
Okay, no worries. Because if you go onto that link, guys, there is curriculums and session plans for the entire season, and I sent an email out, and our administrator sent an email out. But I just wonder maybe if there's a better way to get this across to you guys. That there are these resources there for you. And there's also videos on a YouTube page of those sessions. So the resources are all there in terms of the support for all of you. Jason, yes, sir.
Yeah, no, that's something I specifically wanted to comment on, because I've been sort of the assistant coach of this one team for a few years now. And I've been missing this exact type of thing. I don't know when you guys started this up, but even this session, this season, I only got an email for it for the first time, unless I missed it, for last week's session. So I was unaware of this. Now, a lot of that's on me for not taking a closer look at the MSI website. But I just think this is really helpful, and it would be good if a mass email was sent out to all the coaches that are signed up. Again, I don't know why I wouldn't have been on those lists previously, but I hadn't heard about it until just week before last.
Yeah, well, that's good feedback. I mean, we have sent out emails each week about it, but what I'll do is I'll make sure that those are updated so it does go out to you guys. So Yeah, that's good feedback, Jason. So thank you. I will make sure that is the case. So, but yeah, it's every Monday, every Monday up until November the 14th. It goes through. And then we're having on-field sessions as well. So if you guys want to put this down for your calendars, for 4th grade plus, the 7th of October, we will be at Julius West Middle School. From 6:15 to 7:15.
So, Ben, what do? We take our teams there, or just us coaches?
No, you guys as coaches just show up, and we'll have the kids there to talk about what we're doing, on these Monday sessions, and put it into action.
Sorry, I was pulling up my calendar. What day did you say?
So for fourth grade plus on the 7th of October, for 3rd and then below, it's on the 6th.
The 6th? Same time, 6:15?
6:15.
6:15 on the 6th. Thank you.
And Benji, I want to echo, I'm glad that you guys are doing in person. I'm an assistant coach, but head coach, Nate, him and I showed up, and we were really impressed in August. And it's unfortunate that we have conflicts, so we're not attending live. But I've been receiving your emails. It just
get on.
So they're getting there. So I can give you that feedback that the forum, emails, it's all, maybe it is sometimes maybe on us to.
Yeah, I've seen emails that just sometimes tough to
get on.
It will be available.
Yeah, I get it, guys. I'm not naive to that. Is that it's on a Monday and you guys, some of you are working until 6 o'clock, so I'm fully there with you. But yeah, the in-person ones we'll have in October, and then we'll finish in November as well with an in-person one as well. So we want to offer this as much as possible to you guys for these time slots to help as much as possible. So yeah, there you go. Any other questions, guys, before we log off for the night? Jose, what can I help you with, sir?
Okay, just the final question is kind of like a moonshot, perhaps. Is there any opportunity for you or any of your staff to actually come to one of the practices, have a look at the team, and provide strategies to improve both our coaching and just kind of like identify deficiencies in the team? Because one thing is for us to come to these online sessions, and then everything looks really wonderful, and I'm going to hop off here and I'm going to feel like I'm ready to tackle the training session, and then when I get there, everything's going to backfire because it's just not going to work for the group of kids that I have.
Yeah.
Is there any possibility for that happening? I mean, I know you have a lot of teams and a lot of different age groups, but then again, there's some teams that are really struggling. My team is actually one team that's struggling, and I coached. I have a 15-year-old who plays varsity now. He's a sophomore, so he's really successful. And I coached his futsal team, and developed really well. But it was a good group.
Mm-hmm.
And now my 9-year-old is in a group that it's been really difficult. So I think that we could benefit from that because, as I said, there are kids that are really passionate. And I see that if we provide them a right framework, they could become varsity players of the future.
Absolutely. Well, do this, Jose. I put my email in there, and I won't make any promises, but I will try my best, if it does work, to come out to one of the sessions, just based off what my time frame and schedule is through the week. But I do promise you, if you send me an email, I will look at it and say, I could be there, I could not be there. So just do that, and then that way we can, we can see if we could work something out.
That's awesome, mate. Thanks so much.
No problem. No problem.
Well, Benji, Jose's with his questions bringing up a thought. We are testing the waters on when our girls, because we're in the same age group as Jose, but we're girls, and they've been playing since kindergarten, so they're gel a lot, maybe a little bit better, but as a group, but we're getting a lot of talking and a lot of not listening to coaches. So we are starting to institute running. And I know you said, 9-year-old girls or boys, they don't need any warm-ups because there's no hammies to bust up yet, because that's later on. But we've just been instituting take a lap. The team, though, not singling out anybody. Didn't know if you've heard of any comments in your past experiences about getting the girls to learn and not punishing them, but a little physical torture in a sense when they're acting up. So
the metaphor I have for this is that when you play football or play soccer, what is the next action always defined on? What must you do to carry out the next action?
Well, be clear, I guess. Clear in your action or direction.
But you as the player. So if you're the player and if you have to press, what do you have to do? You go and press. What would you do if you're pressing at 100% of your intensity? What are you doing?
You're not making it fun.
Well, no. I'm just saying, you're running, right? You're running.
Yeah.
If your team has the ball and you have to run behind the last line, you are running. If your team has lost the ball and you have to recover, you are running. So this is Brian. This is gold dust, by the way, because again, people at the collegiate level do this and don't understand this. If you have a negative connotation for running, what will the players not ever do for you in the game as a coach?
Yeah, not hustle, not run.
Okay, so, but that again, we have to create a really clear reference for this. Is that if you put on the players these restrictions, or you put on this image in their head of a connotation like that, that sticks, right? And then the coach all of a sudden at the collegiate level, who's screaming at his players or her players, to run more and work harder, but has punished them all week by running, what do you expect? It's a human response, almost. But yeah, I would always look at with children rewarding versus rewarding versus taking away. And another really good one for engagement and fun and pushing the players to be able to do more is rewarding them by top goal scorer or MVP of the night, player of the night, trainer of the night. If you're doing a defensive topic and you're asking them to press, the person that presses and wins the ball every single time is MVP. They could have to, Kit Kat MVP, give them a Kit Kat at the end of practice, whatever it looks like, Gatorade champion, always look at reward versus take away. It's a really, for them as children, it's very positive. And then it goes back to as well, they just end up running, exercising, working out. It's bigger than the sport. You then have a person that hates exercise long term. If you do that every single time. So that's why the implication is really important of not enforcing running as a negative thing. So that's
Thank you, Benji. We are testing the waters on that. We're a little unsure, so I like how you're hesitating because
I would say long-winded. I know, but that's why I would not do that. So.
I appreciate that.
I look at it as you only get an hour a week with them at rec usually. So if they're running half the practice, what are they learning?
Yeah,
absolutely.
So yeah, good point.
Good points. Fellas.
Taking away the time.
No, we reward them with scrimmage. I don't know why, but they get geeked out about scrimmage. So we'll keep that up. So instead of running, just play against each other for the last 20 minutes of practice or something.
Good man. Yeah, get them playing as much as possible. All right, guys. Well, can't thank you enough for jumping on. Really appreciate your time. And like I say, I hope that this is useful. And as much as you can get on, because it's good fun for all of us to talk about our different environments and scenarios, but having a clear reference on how we would like to do things as well. So thank you very much. Be safe, and I will see you all next week. Thanks, guys.
Thanks a lot, Benji. See ya.
Thank you, everybody.
Awesome, mate.